Welcome. This is Derek Demore with Futures Demore on this Friday, and we're here to go over opening bell and positive points for breakfast and see what's going to happen maybe going into next week. Here's our bullet points so that you can pause and read the summary, but you can kind of see I have my boxes, my first hour opening bell boxes, which is a new thing that we're going to do. And basically we went long at market because we had a nice pullback at opening bell. And the signals were for that anyway, but we only won 1 out of 3. Short down, I went short. I did some DCAs. I'll show you where I put them. And the end result, 1 fill, 2 stop outs for basically a break even on the market, and 1 fill and 2 modified gains on the on my limit orders. So let's see how we did. So you can see that our entry right here, basically a doji got stopped out in this candlestick and it never came back up to give us any. So even a DCA would have been, it would have been positive. I just always look at that kind of stuff, you know, to get in there. DCA 4 points roughly would have pulled back. It gave us, let's say our average was at 33, and we would have ended up with maybe 2.5 points on 4 contracts. Not really worth doing. We did get stopped out, unfortunately, on the NASDAQ. It busted through the 200 period. Again, we were on the other side of the 10 period, which, you know, that gives you a little hint. That's what I'm starting to look at. We're on the other side of the 10 period. The Russell was barely on the other side, but we were above all of the other EMAs. And that one actually was the only one that we won. We got our 10 points. The NASDAQ stopped us out pretty quickly. Even a DCA 51 down to 32, that would have worked out because we have 12 points. So we would have been DCA at 52 basically, then down at 40. And then our stop would have been at 28. So we would have done really well on that one. But again, don't know that. So 1 out of 3, basically a break even. We'll show you our limit orders. So this is where we were on the limit orders. I figured that we had this all-time high at, you know, before the rollover, it was at 48.75. Now it's at 39.50. And I wanted to get in. I looked back at the peak at 8:30. So I figured, okay, that's a good spot to get in. And then a lot of times we'll get about a 1 point jump up above the new all-time high and then a pullback. So I was thinking, yeah, I wouldn't mind taking a DCA. I mean, if it runs against us, it runs against us, but that's a good spot, you know, from just historically what I do. So then the NASDAQ, I wanted to get it close to this ninja trend line and then put the next order up at what was the Bollinger at the time and the peaks of the solids. So I thought that would have been a good spot to get in, because then we have to go all the way up and basically almost break the 14,000 area, get up close to that to break it. And then on the Russell's been really bullish, so I really wanted to give it some room, and I thought 23.18.5, and then I went back and I looked long term at a 618 way back here, and that was at 24. So I put my limit order there, and there's a lot of data that suggests that it'll bump up against that if it came up. And here's kind of what happened as we went along. We got into both the limit order and the DCA on the Russell, and we missed the turnaround by 2 points of the stop. Would have been around 24.50. It would have been around 29.5. So we were pretty clear there. The NASDAQ, I just got into this one, and then we got into the second one, ironically, which came right up to the Bollingers at 77. That was a really nice spot. And you can see looking left that that's kind of where I thought the peak would be. And then we did get in on just the first contract on the S&P, and that ended up taking forever to come down. It's getting a little worried on the NASDAQ, but it did turn around, and then we took our points here. So our average 70, and we made our 24 there. the Russell started to come down then and modified because now it's 11 o'clock and I just decided to get out. I got out back at 10:30. So what, let's see, the average was 20. So we had 24 and 18 and a half. So let's just call that, let's be generous and say the average was 21 and a quarter. And it ended at 19 and a half. So let's just give it a 1.5 on 4 contracts. So we won 8. We won decent 30 points on the NASDAQ, and we won a 1.5 on the Russell. So let's look at end of day. All right, as you can see, we split the uprights on the MES. The other 2 we actually hit the end of day calls. This one just, it was one of those that I thought we were going to go up and bust through the all-time high. The all-time high is now right here. So I pulled that down. Today, you can see the channel. I talked about a bunch of things. The RSIs are still high. Are we in a wave 5 reversal? We're going to find out. We did bounce off of the 4,200. Remember, that would have been 4,210, but 4,200 and the pivot point is all down about 10 points from the rollover. So now 4,212 is the key support right there. And we're in a channel where anything above this 4,219 on a solid is still, we want to hit it and then bounce back up and be up at 4,230 end of day. So 42.21 or 42.44 end of day. So let's put them there and then we'll move on. So that's where we ended up. And now let's go down to the NAS. And you can see on our NASDAQ chart where we ended up, barely touched the bottom of our goal. 13.8 is still bottom support. We almost touched 14,000. We might be in this 2 to 3 move, which we might be done with. So we might get a pullback. It's hard to know how far. And then, so we closed above the 13, which was 917. And now the end of day, to me, it looks like 860, which is down at basically the R2, or we bust up above the R3 and we end up at about 1429. So I actually changed the end of 1418 is my hit. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do. Let's look at the Russell and pull that up. And then, so here's where we are on the Russell. Let me pull it down a little bit. We did hit our mark. And very similar wave up. But we've had we were in a channel, we've pulled back. It looks to be like it's rolling over. Now, is that the pullback that we needed? I mean, it was a perfect, if this is kind of a wave 2 to 3 pullback, I mean, we stayed above this, so that's a good sign. It's hard to know. 2,300 is now support, and anything above 2328, I want to get back to that. So basically, wherever this wick is, we need to get it back above that to be bullish. So end of day 2,300 or 2,334. I might move that up to 42. I'm going to move that up to 42 even. All right, so that's where my ends are, and let's do the calculations and see you on Monday. All right, so the final for today, we 1 out of 3 lost the first 2, won the Russell, -6 points, but positive 12 currency units, so kind of a break even. Limit orders did pretty well. Just 2 contracts on the S&P, 4 contracts on both the others. I modified the Russell, so you can read this, but basically a total of 39.5 points for 350 currency units. So hope you learned something today. Hope your trading is getting better. Let us know in the comments section. Thanks for being with Futures to More, Futures Networks Live, and we'll see you on Monday.